Hello students, Assalamu alaikum. This is chapter number 2 of political science first paper, that is the end of biopolarity. You are well known that after the end of the after the end of the Second World War, the whole world, almost whole Europe and American North American continent was divided into two poles, that is US pole and USSR pole, or you can say the capitalist pole or the socialist pole. The capitalist pole was led by United States of America, and the USSR or the socialist pole was led by USSR, that is Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. And in this chapter, we will discuss how this biopolarity ended. Okay, what are the causes of behind this end of biopolarity in the world politics, and what was the consequence of this end of biopolarity, and how India is relating with these post-socialist countries or post East European countries. You know, when the Allied forces won the Second World War, and you know that Germany was in the Axis power or Axis bloc. When Germany was defeated by the Allied force, or the Axis powers were defeated by the Allied forces, then those countries were divided among the Allied forces for controlling, and Germany was one of them. That is the main country of Axis bloc, Axis force, and Germany was divided between these main main members of Allied forces, that is United States of America, England, uh, France, and Russia. And the parts that controlled by these three, that is America, England, and France, was unified, okay, consolidated, and was controlled by a central body, a central authority, and rest of the part was controlled by USSR, that is the East Germany. And now you can say the West Germany was controlled by America, and East Germany was controlled by Soviet Union. Okay, and in Soviet controlled Germany, socialism was introduced, and rest of West Germany, there capitalism and democracy was introduced. But as in this part, the East Germany, no democratic right was there, no freedom of speech was there. That's why people migrated from here to there. And from 1949 to 1961, in these 12 years, almost more than 30 lakh people migrated from East Germany to West Germany. And to check and to stop this movement of people from one area to one region to another, the East Germany authority built a wall, that is more than 150-kilometer wall. You can see the Berlin Wall here. This is the Berlin Wall, built in 1961 to stop the movement of people from East Germany to West Germany. This is the Berlin Wall, and this Berlin Wall was, when it was built up, it was built in 1961. This is an important question, and it was built at the height of the Cold War. And one after another, the 8 East European countries that were part of the Soviet bloc replaced their communist governments in response to mass demonstration. There was a huge mass demonstration in the socialist socialist republic or socialist units or countries that controlled by the USSR, and responding to the mass demonstration of these countries, the socialism was replaced by capitalist system and democratic tenets. So in this chapter basically we are going to discuss about this all things, how bipolarity was ended, what was the causes of the disintegration of Soviet Union, and what are the consequences or result of the Soviet disintegration, and then how India managed relationship with the post-socialist countries. All these things will be discussed in this chapter. See here, some information is given in the overview part. See, in this part, Berlin Wall was built in 1961 to separate East Berlin from West Berlin. This more than, actually here, more than 150-kilometer long wall stood for 28 years, because it was built in 1961 and demolished in 1989. Okay, that is 28 years, and was broken by the people on 9 November 1989. These two year, that is 1961 and 1989. You remember these dates, very important dates. This marked the unification of two parts of Germany, and when it was broken, the Berlin Wall was broken, then these two parts, East Germany and West Germany, was unified, consolidated into one part, that is the present Germany. Okay, and the beginning of the end of the communist bloc. So move on the second page. See what was the Soviet system. What are the characteristics of Soviet system? How Soviet system was ruled? Okay, what are the system prevailed in Soviet Union during the Cold War? Okay, see, Soviet Union, that prevailed during the Cold War time, was established through the October Revolution, or Bolshevik Revolution, or Communist Revolution. Three names. October Revolution because the movement took place in October 1917, that's why it is called October Revolution. Bolshevik Revolution or Communist Revolution. Okay, through this revolution, Vladimir Lenin, this man established socialism in Soviet Russia, Soviet Union. Okay, the revolution was inspired by what? Socialism. The ideas of socialism as opposed to capitalism. Socialism is always, that means, opposed. It can be said as not antonyms, but to some extent can be said as antonyms, because it always opposed to Soviet what is capitalist system. Okay, because private property is not there, private ownership is not there in socialism, but all the private property, private ownership is there in capitalist system. Freedom of speech is there, democratic right is there in capitalist system, but freedom of speech, democratic right is not there in socialist countries or socialism. One party ruled is there in socialism, but there are two or more political parties are present in democratic or capitalist countries. So it is bilkul opposite. The Soviet political system centered around the Communist Party. There was only one political party. Remember always, there is only one political party was recognized, that is the Communist Party. Communist Party. The economy was planned and controlled by the state. Everything, most of the things were controlled by the state itself. The economy was planned. That is the planned economy. The Indian 5-year plan model was borrowed from Soviet Russia. You may know this. The idea was borrowed from Soviet Russia. And after the Second World War, the East European countries that the Soviet army had liberated from the fascist forces. What are the fascist forces? The fascism was prevailed in Italy under the leadership of Mussolini. Mussolini was the propounder of fascism, same, and Nazism. Nazism was, propounded by Hitler in Germany. So, Axis force. These two countries were in Axis force, including Japan also. Japan, Italy, and Germany. These three countries were the main member of Axis force. So, this Soviet East European countries, were liberated by the Soviet army after the Second World War. And these all countries came under the control of USSR. That is, what is the full form of USSR? Union of Socialist Soviet Socialist Republic. Okay, established in 1917. Then the political and the economic system of all these countries were modeled after the USSR. This group of countries was called as Second World or the Socialist Bloc. Number of times this question was asked in ACE's final exam, that what is Second World or what is Socialist Bloc. Okay, you remember this name? I can show you the countries that were member of the Socialist Bloc. This is Germany, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and USSR itself. These 7 countries, that is the member of the Warsaw Pact. Warsaw Pact signed in 1955. Warsaw, you can see clearly here, Warsaw is the capital of Poland. Here in this capital city of Poland, the Warsaw Pact was signed in 1955 under the leadership of USSR. So through this pact, these all countries were controlled. Okay, and these countries are called, this part, basically this red part, the red parts are called the Second World or the Socialist Bloc. And clearly this yellow part, that is the First World, the West European countries. Okay, the developed, the advanced, the capitalist, many names are there for them. Developed, advanced, capitalist, okay, democratic. These countries are the West European, and the member, almost all these countries are member of the NATO. Okay, another treaty or another treaty signed in 1949 under the leadership of what? USA, that is the United States of America. And this yellow, the green part, only Yugoslavia is shown here. Other parts are also there. Yugoslavia is shown here. The other parts, see, you can clearly see here the yellow parts. Most of them are third world countries, and most of them are members of what? The non-aligned movements. Those countries did not participate either bloc. Okay, whether socialist bloc or capitalist bloc, nowhere they participated, but they played an important role as impartial one. Okay, they maintained equal distance from both the countries, both the bloc, and tried for establishing world peace. So see, so what have we got in these two paragraphs? That is, socialism was established in Soviet Russia, Soviet Union in 1917 through socialist revolution or October revolution or Bolshevik revolution. Okay, and what is the Soviet political system centered around Communist Party? What is the only political party in Soviet Union? That is the Communist Party. How many political parties are there in Soviet Union? Only one political party, that is the Communist Party. The economy is planned there and controlled by the state. Okay, and in this paragraph, this is what is second world. What is second world, or what is socialist bloc? Okay. The Soviet Union became a great power after the Second World War. Okay, the Soviet Union became a great power after the Second World War, but not more than USA. Okay, it was second to USA. The Soviet economy was then more developed than the rest of the world except for the USA. I have already said that not more than USA. It could not surpasses the US economy and its technology. It had a complex communications network, vast energy resources including oil, iron, steel, okay, machinery production, and a transport sector that connected its remotest areas with efficiency. And it had domestic consumer industry that produced everything from pins to cars. Okay, because the economy was controlled, planned, private ownership was not there, private entrepreneurship had little chance only to run their industry. So as everything was controlled by the state, so it could, met each and everything that it needs for its people, from pins to cars. The Soviet state ensured a minimum standard of living for all citizens. That is the main motto. That is the main promise. Okay, main promise by the socialist countries and the Communist Party. They always try to maintain the minimum living standard of all citizens. That is, they try to diminish. They try to diminish the differences between rich and poor. Okay, they try to make a balance, establish a balance between the poor and rich. There was no unemployment, as there was a promise of minimum living standard. There is no unemployment. The ownership was the dominant form of ownership. What is the dominant form of the state? Was the dominant form of ownership. No other ownership was allowed. Land and productive assets were owned and controlled by the Soviet state. Most of the things, almost everything was controlled by the Soviet state. Now, here, these are the characteristics, the positive things about Soviet Union. Now, whatever we will discuss, the negative things of USSR. And for these, actually, USSR disintegrated, simply. Okay, not a single reason Soviet Union was disintegrated, but there were many reasons that contributed for the disintegration of the Soviet Union. Now you see, the Soviet system, however, became very bureaucratic and authoritarian, making life very difficult for its citizens. How? As it was, that means there was only one political party, no other opposition was not there. People could not criticize the government or the government officials. As state is was all in all there, so how? Who controls the authority? Who controls the affairs of the state? Not the ministers only. Okay, not the president, not the prime minister, but the bureaucratic, the officers. That is the clerks, IAS, you can say IAS, IPS, IFS, whatever. these high-ranked officials, they control the state, and it became bureaucratic. And bureaucratic system is always, that there is red tapeism, okay, delay in working, okay, not responding to the people's hours. So it became very much bureaucratic. Lack of democracy and the absence of freedom of speech shifted people from people who often express their dissent in jokes and cartoons. They always criticize government or representatives, people's representatives, through jokes and cartoons, but they were not allowed to express their opinion. There was no freedom of speech and no democratic systems. Most of the institutions of the Soviet state needed reform. The one-party system represented by the Communist Party of the Soviet Union had tight control over all institutions and was unaccountable to the people. When there are two or more political parties, then there is a competition between them, among them. Okay, so as there is no other opposition or no competent to compete the Communist Party, so they became unaccountable to the party, to the people. They did not respond or respect to the aspirations of the people. They did not try to fulfill the need of the people, so it became unaccountable to the people. The party refused to recognize the hours of the people in the 15 different republics. How many republics were there in Soviet Union? 15 republics. And when Cold War ended and Soviet Union disintegrated, the Soviet Union disintegrated into 15 republics. You remember the Albania, this Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan. These were the main countries which came post Cold War from the Soviet Union. Those countries, those republics that came later or post Cold War, they always maintained their own affairs by themselves, or they could practice their own culture. But when Soviet Union controlled those countries, there was no chance for the people of those countries to take the decision of their own affairs or cultural activities. And although on paper Russia, the greatest one, you can say the greatest republic, okay, greatest republic of USSR, though it was only a member by paper, through paper of this among these 15 republics, but it controlled and dominated everything, and people from other regions felt neglected and often suppressed. Russia, though later it became the successor of USSR, as it was a member of USSR on paper, but what happened? It controlled each and everything from administration to grassroots level, and other 14 republics and their people felt neglected, that we are not getting equal status as or equal power as Russia enjoying, or Russia imposing on us. And there was a mere imposition by the Russia on the other republics. So obviously there will be an unsatisfactory situation. Let's move to the next page. Yes, page 3. And another problem, that is the arms race. In the Second World War, in the Cold War, though the Cold War was the war of ideologies, that is the communist ideology and capitalist ideology. At the same time, there was an arms race between the two bloc, Soviet Union and USA. They involved in a arm race where so Soviet Union was lagging behind in compared to USA. USA was advanced and fast, and it managed the arm race time to time, but at a great cost. The Soviet Union lagged behind in waste in technology, infrastructure, and most importantly in fulfilling the political or economic aspirations of all of citizens. And here you see, in 1979 there is an important question: when Soviet Union interfered in or sent army to Afghanistan in 1979. You can clearly see here the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan took place in 1979, and that also one of the cause for weakening Soviet Union. That weakened the system even further. And later, after 1970s, gradually Soviet Union became stagnant. Okay, it started getting weak. So in this class I am concluding, and later on we'll discuss Gorbachev and the disintegration. Gorbachev is the main man who took some policies, but he didn't know that it will be the cause of the disintegration of Soviet Union. Okay, very interesting topic will be discussed in the next class. Thank you.